we got the Cowboys blues. Well, some of us do. Most of the Cowboy Nations has the blues, but man, we saw this coming, so let's not belabor the point. We're going to have to focus our Cowboy stories on the future moving forward. Yep. And so we'll start doing that next week. RIP to the 2025 Cowboys. They've gone fishing.
Yeah.
The Cowboys are gone fishing. It's a great day to be alive on the Dead Jeff Show. Come on in, everybody. This is right off the Cowboys loss to the Vikings, so forgive us if we don't have our usual spunkiness. Come on in. I'm Jeff. He's Nick. That's Luke, the maestro. And I'm not sure where I'm pointing now because we got 3 people, so don't get mad at me if I pointed at the wrong person.
Maybe just don't point anymore.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't just point. I should not point. That's a good idea. Well, Cowboys lose tonight, and it's 34-26 is the final, and the playoff hopes are all but done and over. It's for Nick. Nick finally believes that they're not going to make the playoffs, but what a game tonight. We're going to get into that in just a few minutes. We're going to get into all today's NFL's action. We're going to have Nick's picks for this week and see what we have time left after that. But look, Cowboys take a fat L at home to J.J. McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings. So just kind of give me your first impressions or your impressions of this loss. Maybe start with the way the game started. Just give me a minute or so on your response to this game, Nick.
Yeah, I was I really kind of came into this thinking that Dallas this was one of the ones I wasn't worried about, kind of stupidly. And then the way Minnesota looked last week kind of gave me a little pause, and then they come out and it's the interception to Quinnen Williams, great play, heads up play. When they didn't, as the game started to unfold and they didn't capitalize on the defensive stops and it just didn't feel like the offense was flowing early in a way that I'm used to with them at home. Like this game at halftime felt like it should have been a 2-score Cowboys lead. And so then coming out of the half, I really kind of started to struggle to see how the Cowboys would blow it open. And in close games, man, you just never know. So as a weird one, I came into it feeling like they had this one kind of easy, and then it kind of quickly got away from us a little bit, it felt like.
Yeah, agree. I think that 2 of the first 3 drives, we got touchdowns, so that it looked promising, right? It was 14-7. Looked like maybe it was a chance for us to take the game in the direction we wanted to do. Cowboys are front runners. Struggled with the run game early. The Cowboys did. But got out to a 14-7 lead, and then they go on a long drive for a touchdown. Really, that big 59-yard play where Carson was just playing the sticks, and Addison ran right by him, made him look foolish, and they got a 59. That was kind of the changing play of the game, right? And it got Minnesota to tie the game. So kind of a weird half, as you said, settling for too many field goal attempts, and the A-bomb kind of self-imploded tonight. He missed 2. I guess he was due for a bad game, but that was a big part of the game. And we'll talk about that more in just a minute. But at halftime, it was kind of, you're looking at the stats, you're like, hey, it's not awful, but it's not great. It looked like Dak was struggling to handle the pressure. I mean, they weren't getting to him, but he was struggling a little bit. Lamb played fine in the first half. There was an APB out on George Pickens in that first half. It's a continuation of last game. This was his chance to bounce back, and we're going to get into all those topics. But here's the thing. Go back to episode 1. And if you listen to what we thought the Cowboys were, they are who we thought they were, to quote Denny Green, right? And one of us on this podcast got really sucked into the hype and one of us kind of got sucked into the hype, and Luke was out the whole season. Luke was like, "Look, I'm done with these Cowboys, man."
I was out last season.
Yes,
Last season I was out.
yes, Luke was off the emotional roller coaster. He decided he was going to abandon his Cowboy fandom because all of the goofiness that they do. But when we talked at the very first episode, we thought they were going to be somewhere between a 7 and 9 win team, and that's exactly where they're going to end up this year. But this is what the Cowboys do, Nick. They take us on this ride where it's like they they show up. Oh, look here, there's some promise, there's some hope. Then they dash it with some goofiness. Oh, then they show back up with some hope, and then more goofiness, and then just when you least expect it, it happens. And this is kind of proving Stephen A. right, an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah, it's there's a lot to unpack there, but I think overall the biggest thing, and I'm trying to not be just a prisoner of the moment, but I think the biggest problem slash issue I have is it feels like that, and it also feels like you're not just a couple of pieces away here. So it you know the season basically, for anyone that isn't 100% certain, they have a 1% chance they have to win out. Philly has to lose out. It's the only path in now. The wild card chances are zero. So essentially, the season's over, right? You can't say never, but it's over. And so it's so hard to not think about, all right, as most Cowboy fans will do, I will get them next year. Well, like Luke did last year, it's hard for me to see where next year you're just not a couple of pieces away, and it's a really weird spot to be in as a Cowboys fan. And I'm certain that other people will be sharing that sentiment tonight.
Well, for some of us that lived in reality, we knew the playoff chances were slim and none. But I want to say something to the Cowboys' benefit. I think they are closer than we think, and we can get into that if you want. But tonight, with the offensive line injuries, you had Nate Thomas go out, and then the guy the guy who came in and instantly had a holding call. But it's there was some trouble. This is the wrong game to have your offensive line banged up because of what Flores does on defense.
Yep.
It's he keeps them guessing. Dak looked puzzled and confused, and he was playing playing, yeah, what do you call it, the hot foot, where he's got happy feet in the pocket,
Mm-hmm.
and missing big plays. But here's what I'll say: I think um, with the trades that they made to get Pickens to come in, um, we thought, okay, that thing's settled. Now that looks unsettled, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, now you have a question mark there, and you've been saying all year, don't pay Pickens, right? Don't pay George Pickens. And I said with the start he had, you have to pay him at this point. But now that's coming back into question. George
Mm-hmm.
Pickens really lost an opportunity tonight. He had an opportunity to bounce back after a really subpar game, at least for this season's George Pickens, right? Now that game last week was a little bit more of a resemblance of what he was in Pittsburgh, sort of Jekyll and Hyde. But now this is 2 games in a row, and I haven't looked at the film or anything, so this is initial reaction. But it's more of the same from last week. It looks like, regardless of the coverage, your effort shouldn't change, and that's the thing that you said last week, but it's true. So Pickens is now, two games in a row, and now with everything done, with there nothing to play for as far as the team standpoint, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Pickens over the next 3 games.
Well, here's the other thing I'll say, and you're right, no film yet. I'm very excited just from a curiosity standpoint to watch it. But if you're Minnesota, here's what I think they decided to do. I think they said, look, CD's going to get his no matter what. If we go back and we watch these games where CD and GP were both going off, they're doubling CD, hoping to take him away. And he's so good, he's still going to get his in the majority of the games. He had a couple of off games, but for the most part, he averaged something like 6 or 7 catches on 95 plus yards all season long. And it didn't matter what they were doing. What it looks like and what I feel like Minnesota did is they just did the old NBA thing. Fine, we're going to let your star player get his because he's going to anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to make
Yeah.
sure nobody else beats us. So I think they rolled to safety over the top of GP. They said, we can frustrate GP. We can take him out of the game, or at least get him to take himself out of the game. And now if CD goes for 6 for 100 or 7 for 120 and a TD, that's all right. That's not great, but We know that defense is going to give up. So now that the blueprint is out there, even more to the point, I just I've never liked, even when GP was going crazy, I didn't like 60 million in the receiver room. We see it in Cincinnati. I think the blueprint to see how you can be hyper successful paying all that money to receivers doesn't make a ton of sense. And I think what you're going to see in Philly, before anyone jumps at me in the comments, is that before they get to a point of having to make the decision about AJ and Devontae, one of the two won't be there anymore. I almost guarantee it. So yeah, man, I think Minnesota had a great game plan. I think they just said we're gonna let CD get his, but we're gonna take everything else away, and it worked pretty well.
Well, it took their cue from Shepard last week, where he doubled both of them, right? And a
Yep.
lot of times. And I think that CD, like you said, still made plays. But what they saw was George Pickens is going to revert back to old Steelers George Pickens when he's double covered, get frustrated, shut down, and feel like, well, my contribution is I'm taking the double team, so somebody else has got to be open and make plays.
Yeah.
That's not the way it works when you want to be a big time receiver making $30 million a year. You can't do that. I think what you said is right. The Bengals are finding out with T. Higgins, who's been in and out of the lineup a lot, and so is his quarterback, by the way.
Yeah.
That it's this year anyway, that it's really difficult, right, to have that much money tied in. And I've been a guy who's saying pay George because he showed us a different George, a more consistent George. Well, man, this is the leak in the boat, right? And George can patch it and make it right, or it can just take on more water. And right now, he's taking on more water. And I'm sure there's another week of media scrutiny. Maybe they'll be
Hmm.
easy on George because it's like, well, they were doubling him the whole game, and Flournoy was able to have a few big plays, and CD was able to have a good game. But the truth is, if you want to be a $30 million man, it doesn't matter if you're double covered, single covered. You have to make plays, and that's something that Pickens has never really been asked to do consistently, because Pittsburgh's always had a run game and a defense, right? And so it's like we're going to throw it when we have to. So he was asked to make fewer plays. Look, I've been a fan of Pickens this year, but what I've seen last week and this week, major warning. And I think when we first started talking about signing it, that was my question: is
Hmm.
which GP are you signing, right? And I think that's even a bigger question now. So going into that, you're sticking with not signing him, obviously, because the cracks are starting to show. And I think I'm leaning more towards, with the way Flournoy's been playing, and maybe Flournoy's been playing that way because Pickens is here, right? You got CD, you got Pickens, and then Flournoy's able to be that third guy who takes advantage of those double teams being on the outside and on Pickens and Lamb. Maybe that's the case, but
Yeah.
one. Go
Just
ahead.
just real quick, because you mentioned Flournoy. I think the other thing, and look, you hear it all the time. It's a business. I look just coming onto the show. Flournoy's contract next year is $1 million cap hit, and he's a restricted free agent the year after that. So you essentially have 2 years of him at, call it, sub 3 million cap hit. I don't, what the 27 cap hit is. It's a rookie player option, I think. So they'll be able to sign him to the sheet for the 5th year, and maybe even extend him based on what he's done so far. You could probably get him for like 6 or 7 million. But regardless, I think Flournoy's looked serviceable, certainly. I think if you call him a number two and you go draft someone or sign a veteran or something like that, I don't want to belabor the point, but at the same time, over the last couple of weeks and at his best this year, Flournoy has looked like somebody that can certainly be a number two and isn't going to cost you $30 million.
Well, and even Jerry weighing in on the Pickens conversation said that it's a little unfair for people that are being hypercritical of Pickens last week. I wonder what he's going to say about it this week.
I thought
Luke,
that,
where are
yeah.
you on Pickens?
On paper, I think I would strengthen the defense because after what we saw last night, or I mean, after what we saw tonight, the defense couldn't stop anybody.
That's
And
right.
Minnesota's offense isn't that great. They have pretty good wide receivers, but they still have a young quarterback, and they should have been able to pressure him, I feel like, all night, and they didn't do that outside of the first two drives. Um, So I don't know. I think I would give Flournoy a chance and
So
maybe,
no sign, don't sign
yeah, don't
Pickens.
sign him and make the defense better. Use that money, spend it on the defense. Because look at the teams that are good. Right now the Rams have a really good defense. The Broncos have a really good defense, and uh, I will say those are my two teams that I
You're
pick.
jumping ahead
So
here.
I'm
Sneak
sorry.
peek.
Stop bogarting the mic here. All right.
Sorry.
Listen, here's what we'll say. Here's what I'll say. Look, it's it's easy to be persuaded in the heat of the moment, but when you weigh everything that's happened this year, I think there are big question marks with Pickens. And the where you've painted yourself in a corner now is that if you don't sign him, if you don't at least franchise tag him, he walks away for and you get nothing, which is the worst possible scenario for the Cowboys. Now, one thing you said earlier, Nick, where you said they're not just a player or two away. I don't know that I totally agree with that. I think the defense has got the most work. I think obviously we want a linebacker. We need some secondary help. I agree with Chris Collinsworth and I don't do that much. Chris Collinsworth on the broadcast talking about they just need secondary help, right? And if we can get some of these young guys to stay healthy and play and draft a stud in the draft next year and a stud linebacker, I think that could help because you have Overshown, and you can add another linebacker to that and add somebody in the secondary, and I think that will be much, much better. But here's the problem, and let's just say it. So we got the Pickens stuff out of the way, guys. Look, that's easy pickings, no pun intended, maybe to pick on him right now. But you can't forget what he's done. That has to count for something, right? Those games mattered, those moments mattered. So we can't
Yeah.
get too down on him. The question is, if I don't spend my money on Pickens, who am I going to spend it on? And do we trust this Cowboys front office to spend it wisely and correctly? That's the question I want to ask you now. Do you trust if they don't sign Pickens that they're going to have a good plan and go out and get somebody? Because to me, that's the thing. They've always struggled on the defensive side of the ball putting this team together.
Yeah, I think for me, the short answer is no. The short answer is I don't trust them, and I don't know how anybody could. Um, I think what we've seen, and we've done this in previous episodes of the kind of the what do the draft picks look like, what do the free agent signings look like, and then what do the
Yeah.
trade acquisitions look like. Um, I think to say it's 50-50 is probably generous, but the short answer to your question is no, I'm not confident in that. But what I am confident in is as currently constructed, it cannot work this way. Um, and again, I think that's just more from a financial side. I just want to be really clear. I'm not saying George Pickens isn't a talent worthy of, wanting to roster and have him on the team. And if this was a 12 to $15 million conversation, it's a totally different conversation. But I
Mm-hmm.
think given what he's done, he's got, 1,100, 1,200 yards and, 8 or 9 touchdowns already. That's not, a 15 to $18 million receiver. Someone's gonna pay him 25 to $30 million next year, or per season for the next few years. So I just want to be really clear about that. But to answer your question, no, I'm not confident in it. I wish that there would be just a little bit more of an emphasis on veteran kind of defensive help. We see it working really well in a lot of places, and it's even worked here with a couple of guys. The immediate one, especially in the secondary, and I hated it. I hated the move at the time was Stephon Gilmore. I just thought he was a little bit slower. I thought it wasn't going to work. It took
Yeah.
about one game for me to change my mind on that one because he's just so crafty and he's such a reminds me of an old pitcher that's kind of lost his arm but is still got just it's between the ears, such a high IQ. So no, I don't trust it. I wish they would maybe spend a little bit more energy on going to get, the Bobby Wagners of the world, see how that's working out for Washington, and just get some guys that can play the game and make a difference.
Should we try to go get Richard Sherman?
Yeah, let's not
No.
do that, maybe.
No, we should not. He's too old. He's too done. Now, I get it. Look, what did Logan Wilson do tonight?
He had just
Anything after that first drive where he got that little blitz? Did we see anything else from Logan Wilson tonight? How many snaps did he play?
I got to pull the snap counts, but on the stat sheet, he had 1 tackle, no sacks, no pressures, no tackles for a loss. no passes defended, and no quarterback hits.
and no impact on the game, right? So
Right.
maybe Cincinnati was right about Logan Wilson, right? And maybe
Who did
Someone
on the
might have
defense, though?
someone might have caught that a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure who that guy was.
what are you saying?
I'm saying who did have an impact on the defense?
Well, I think there was definitely impact there. I think, you know,
Well, Overshown, right? Like Overshown
yeah,
still pops
Overshown
up
was there. Bland played pretty good
very
tonight.
well.
I didn't.
He played
I
very
don't
well.
think there was any issues with Bland. I think that if you look at Quinnen Williams, he didn't play awful. He got the interception, of course. He was just being in the right spot at the right time.
And wait a
And we
minute.
saw
Hold on.
flashes.
Just because you said Bland didn't play terrible, I just want to, because he basically was going with Justin Jefferson everywhere. Justin
Yeah.
Jefferson had 2 catches for 22 yards, so maybe we need to.
Well, but he
He
was
dropped
also
a
on.
touchdown
Hold on,
pass.
hold on. Everybody's talking at once. We, he did get a touchdown scored on him by Addison, I believe it was Addison or Naylor.
Yeah.
So that was Bland's coverage. So he wasn't always with Jefferson, but I understand what you're saying. But the truth what I'm trying to say is Bland made an impact on the game, right? He didn't play awesome, but he didn't play awful. He was pretty good in
Right.
my eyes. So I think that what this all comes down to again is not being able to get pressure on McCarthy, him having all day, and then his legs beating us in key moments, right? And the question has to be again, speaking of no impact, what about Eberflus, right? It's like here we go again. I don't. Again, we don't think Jerry's going to fire him during the season. Even though everyone has wanted him to, and I really don't want to get into that again, just to be honest with you. But the few weeks we saw were a mirage, or maybe more of a result of who they were playing, because tonight it was, there were still gashes there early, and I don't know how many plays they had over 20 yards, but there were several, right? Maybe 3, maybe. But the 59-yarder stands out in my head. I think there was a 29-yarder to Hawkinson. There were some big plays given up, but look, it's been curtailed a little bit, but it's playing too safe right now for me. It's not blitzing enough. And I get it. It's a conundrum. Hey, my secondary's terrible, but it's made worse by the fact you can't get pressure on the quarterback. And so for me, the defense was the biggest issue in this game, but with that being said, when it was 17-17 and we come out of the half and we get a field goal and then we get another field goal, that's the situation. Our offense was terrible on third downs tonight.
Yep.
What was it, 2 for 13 or 2 for 12? Something ridiculous. It was awful on third downs. Not pretty good on fourth downs, except for the last one, right? But it's not all on the defense, is what I'm saying. But I think if you just rinse and repeat, and Luke said this earlier in the week, it seems like after every Cowboy game, it's the same topics.
Yeah.
It's the same topics, which means what are they fixing?
Right.
What are they changing as we go? It's the same stuff. Penalties in the second half of this game. Minnesota didn't get called for one penalty in the second half, I don't think. And at the half, it was very marginal. We had 3 and they had 3, and then we had 4 in the second half, and they were big impact penalties in the second half, right? So I think it's the same stuff, with the exception of this one topic. Brandon Aubrey. Should we be concerned with him missing 2 field goals way right tonight?
I'm not. I mean, I think, for all you golfers out there, and I certainly know this, you've got that one thing in your bag that this works every single time. It's perfect. It's the thing I'm most confident in. When that goes away from you, and maybe basketball for you guys, kind of shooter analogy, you've got your thing. You know what it is, shoot or shoot. I'm not, just because I missed 2 doesn't mean I'm not going to put the third one up. And I had a really big problem with them not kicking the field goal. Although I think maybe more just from a time standpoint, I can be persuaded in going forward on that fourth down with, I
Talking
think
about
just
the
under
4th
6
and
minutes.
7.
Yeah.
Pass to Davis for 6 yards.
Right. I can be
Where was that at? I
persuaded.
think they were like on the 44.
Yeah, they could have kicked a field goal.
It would have been like a 59 yarder, 59 yarder.
Yeah.
certainly
Okay.
within his range. So again, I mean, I think for me, I would prefer to keep it a one possession game because look, Minnesota was 2 for 9 on third down, so they were kind of getting off the field. Um, they could get him to third down very frequently, but at least when they got him there, they were getting off the field.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me answer your question directly. No, I'm not worried about Aubrey. I think the dude's been money all year long, and
Yeah.
if anything, I would say the opposite. I say they went away from him um, way too quickly, given what he's been for you all year long.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to worry about either. Especially since he made that kick at the end. Kind of he's back on track. But here's the thing: right before that fourth down play to Davis for 6 yards with a check down, there was a 3rd and 7 check down to Davis that he dropped. And I
Hmm.
think that's big, right? You don't and let me just say this: Javonte Williams in the second half was awesome. I mean,
Yep.
he really was awesome. He was nothing in the first half. He hurt his shoulder.
Hmm.
And then Lipke got a concussion, and so now we're down to Davis and Williams, right? And
Hmm.
it's like, okay, well, Williams manned up and really played a heck of a game in the second half. And man, I was really super proud of that guy. And I don't think we're talking enough about re-signing that guy. That's something that we should be talking about maybe instead of all this Pickens signing talk because he has been an unbelievable benefit for the Cowboys this year. And that second half showed you why. Um, I don't think there's anything to worry about with Aubrey. I took a detour there talking about Williams, but with Aubrey, I think it's just one of those things, right? But this is what happens in the Cowboy season. It's at the very worst time that Aubrey has a bad game, right? Because if you make those 2 field goals and then you're sitting there on that 4th and 7, they trot him out there to try the 60-yarder
Yep.
because he's on a roll. So it did weigh into the decision making, I believe. But for tonight, it's just bad timing for a bad game from Aubrey. But no one's putting this game totally on him. It's just a bad game. I agree with that, and nothing really to worry about.
Yeah, you mentioned, I think we're kind of in agreement there. You mentioned Javonte Williams in the second half, and I think, phenomenal point. Really you know, nothing to add. The only thing I would say is you've got a guy that's one of only 10 running backs that currently are over or right at 1,000 yards. Probably looks like maybe 13 to 15 will get there by the end of the year. I'm guessing, of course, there's still what 3 games left to be played. Um, but let's just say Javonte Williams is a top 10 running back, and this is the Pickens conversation all over again. I just pulled the top running back contracts in the NFL. It looks like you're going to have to pay him somewhere between 14 and 20 million.
That's too
That's
much. Yeah, they're
right,
not going to do that.
right,
And but here's the
right.
thing, though, Nick. No, I don't think anyone's going to pay Williams that much money because they're not paying running backs right now that much money. And Javante doesn't have the consistency. I don't think he's going to get that much money. Could he get 10 million? Probably. Um, 12 maybe at the tops probably. But
Hmm.
but man, he has been great here. Um, but that whole series that we just were talking about, I want to revisit it because you know, we had and what this was their drive that started at the 10, right?
Hmm.
And the great return got called back on a holding call that was very suspect, very
Very.
very suspect call. But they come out. Pickens gets a catch for 17 yards, right? Williams runs for 15, another first down, right? Then Williams for 2, Flournoy for 8 on a pass. And then we have a pass to Davis. This is where they made mention of Nate Thomas being out at the start this drive. And then that
Hmm.
pass to Davis for 13 yards, but holding on 75 is a Johnny. I can't. I don't know.
A
Obviously,
Jenny, I think.
I don't call names very well. So that's just a backbreaker, right? At the
Yeah.
worst possible time. And this is what the Cowboys do. The mistakes show up in the big moments. And so that's what set the tone for the rest of that drive. But if you trot Aubrey out there and it's at that point it's 31-23, right? So you make it
Hmm.
31-26, you know, I don't know. That would be. I don't think you can really bust on Shoddy too much for that because you want to get that touchdown and 2-point conversion. I get it, but your defense really hasn't stopped them in the second half very much. So I can't really beat him up about that. But everything I think is a non-issue. I think we can move on for that from that. So what do we think about Dak's performance tonight, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think he didn't play bad, right? I think my thought would be that he looked a little rushed at times. I think the pressure certainly got to him, um, but I don't think he played terribly. Now, I will also say at times this season he's stepped in the booth and put on the cape and come out and done amazing things. And I think for what this team is because of the way the defense plays, at times I need my $55 million quarterback to play like a $55 million quarterback. Tonight he was okay.
Yeah.
I don't think he was bad. He was 23 of 38, 280 yards, something like that. So like I said, I don't think it was terrible, but he certainly wasn't a $55 million quarterback either.
Well, let me just say this: there were times that in the first half he was 10 of 18 for 120 yards. It
Okay.
was okay, but it wasn't like you said. It wasn't. He didn't have any touchdowns at that point.
Hmm.
I don't think. Um, and he was sacked one time. I think he was only sacked twice in the whole
Only
game,
twice. Yep.
which was actually quite impressive. Now, he did avoid some sacks and made a couple really nice plays, but there were times where the play didn't work and he got out of the play, which would hurt his completion percentage. So
Hmm.
to me, I think here's the biggest thing about Dak tonight. I don't think he saw the defense well. I know
Right.
Chris Collinsworth said on the program, "Hey, Dak's in total control of this offense," and it was funny because they did a replay, and he clearly missed Flournoy down the middle of the field
Yeah.
when Collinsworth was saying that stuff, and so I don't think he was in total control. I think he played well enough to win,
Hmm.
but what Flores was doing on the defense, I think Dak was keyed in too much on CD. And I don't think he was even looking at Pickens. And maybe they were double covering him all night, like we said earlier. But
Yeah.
even as a quarterback, you got to find ways to get him involved. Um, Ferguson wasn't used nearly enough. I know he used Lipke a little bit, but
Hmm.
I think that what hurt Dak in the first half was we didn't have a run game of much in the
Yeah.
first half. But man, Javante, as we said, came out and played awesome in the second half. But overall, I mean, I thought Dak played well enough to win. What do you think, Luke?
Um, I don't I don't think Dak is to blame for the loss, but I don't think he played well at all. I think, um, you think about his stats and like some of his completion percentage went down. Some of the throws were throwaways, but I think you know when he doesn't use his legs and run and scramble when he needs to, I think he puts himself in the position to have to throw the ball away, or if he's
Mm.
missing the reads, or if he's not reading the defense or whatever. To me, it just looked like Dak was buffering all night. Like he just was like, I don't know, like I don't know what he was looking at. Obviously, I mean, it's very difficult to play quarterback position. But I don't know, and I'm pretty hard on Dak. I know he's been having a great year, but I think tonight he just I don't know. I don't think he played very well, to be honest.
Well,
Well.
last week we were upset with the deep balls with Dak,
Hmm.
right? We had he wasn't throwing the deep ball well, and that's true. And tonight I think there were plays he missed. To Luke's point, as he's got a little bit of the happy dance, a little happy feet. Maybe the
Hmm.
pressure wasn't as bad as he thought,
Buffering.
but this buffering you're talking about, he missed lanes to run.
Yep.
Hmm.
And as he is maneuvering in the pocket, which he's done well all year,
Hmm.
tonight he just didn't see the open receivers. And I do have to give credit to Flores and the defense that he runs at Minnesota. He is one of the most challenging
Hmm.
defensive coordinators, and I wouldn't mind having him on our side. Maybe we can trade Eberflus for
Yeah.
Flores, but
Three first
again,
rounders.
Dak has some holes for sure tonight, but I think he played well enough to win. Nick, what were
Yeah,
you gonna say?
he played well enough to win. I think I'm looking at some numbers here just to try to maybe counter what Luke is saying, but what I'm actually seeing is actually makes a lot of sense. So yeah, he was only sacked twice for 9 yards, but he was hit 11 times, right? And I
Yeah.
think what we know, especially old Dak, happy feet Dak, is he speeds himself up in the pocket, and I think that's exactly what you're talking about. He's buffering because now all of a sudden, there was one very specific instance on a third down play where there was some pressure coming at him, but he stepped up into the arms of a defensive lineman when he didn't need to do anything. He could have held on a little longer. So I think y'all are exactly right. I don't think it's not his fault we lost. He probably, given what the defense didn't do, probably played okay enough to get to squeak out a win. But again, if I'm having to be like, yeah, well, and I'm paying you that kind of money, I think we kind of got a bigger issue here.
Well, there were two instances. There it might have been more, but there was two that I saw where Harrison Smith, the safety for Minnesota, was up at the line like he was gonna blitz
Yep.
Dak,
Mm-hmm.
and then right before Dak hiked, he would sprint
Bell
back
out. Yeah.
and bail,
Yeah.
and it looked like Dak was just like
Now what?
confused and just like I don't know
Yeah.
who to throw to now. Like he had this play drawn up, and then it's like, oh, they picked my play like in Tecmo Bowl, and then you can't go anywhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, the defense had him confused a little bit, and there was another situation with Pickens on a slant. It was very similar to the Detroit game, almost identical defense, I think, against that play. And so, to me, maybe he realized that without the run game in the first half, he was trying to do too much. I don't know, but I think he was like you say, buffering and missing those throws. But getting hit 11 times, and I don't know what the breakdown is first half and second half on those 11 hits,
Mm-hmm.
but that'll change the way you do things. I'm sure, because we can't even get to the quarterback on our defense. It's very very few. I don't. How many hits did we have on McCarthy tonight?
One.
So it's one hit versus 11 hits. It's a tale of two things, right? And so McCarthy looked great because he had all day to throw back there. And I think with Dak, he needs to run more. I agree with what Luke said. He
Yes.
does need to run more, but he doesn't need to run like 7 years ago, Dak.
Yeah.
Or into the defense.
Right.
Yeah, or no, it seems like tonight he was a little off with his
Yeah.
pocket maneuverability, but
Yeah.
he's been better at that this year. Now, when we saw the Detroit game, I was hard on Dak after the game. Then I rewatched it and go, well, he played better than I thought. And maybe that'll be the case this time. But I think that 23 of 38 is not what we think of Dak. Normally, again, there were some throwaways, but it wasn't crisp. it wasn't like the Dak we've seen moving and in total control, like Chris Collinsworth said. We've seen that this year, but not much in this game. And again, we were terrible on third downs, which has a lot to do with the quarterback. And in the red zone, I don't know what our red zone percentage was tonight, but I know Aubrey had a 26-yard field goal right after halftime, which says, hey, we should have scored a touchdown there. So we settled for field goals a couple times when we should have got touchdowns, and we were terrible on third downs, and some of that has to go to Dak.
Yeah. 2 for 5 in the red zone.
Yeah, that's not going to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to score there, and those are the chances where Dak should be using his legs.
100%.
I mean, there's one replay they showed where there were two huge lanes he could have ran, but he ended up running into the defense a little bit, like Luke was saying. So
right, and those count towards like either a sack or him getting hit or whatever. Like,
Yeah, but it's on him.
it's hit. Right, it's on him.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, he's getting hit or pressured or sacked. That's on. Most people think, oh, that's on the offensive line for not blocking good. Well, maybe he had time to throw it, but he's missing reads or he's buffering, and
or the
makes the wrong
defense
decision.
confused him. Yeah,
Right,
I mean,
right.
so it all could be true, right? The offensive line was banged up, and they did have some problems tonight. The defense of Minnesota did some things that threw Dak off, and Dak didn't play as well as he could. So I think all those things could be true together and simultaneously. It doesn't mean that one is more important than the other. It means all those together contributed to the fact that, well, we took a fat L when we needed to win out.
Yeah.
And I think it's more on the defense than it is Dak if we're assessing blame here.
Mhm.
But the offense certainly wasn't crisp, and that could be, Pickens not being available. Ferguson was hardly used, honestly. We used Lipke a little bit. Javonte Williams in the second half was amazing, and CD was great. So we were limited on offense, and we still scored, 26 points?
Yep.
Unfortunately for our defense, 26 points won't win us a lot of games.
Very rarely. Very rarely.
So I guess it's a mixed reaction on Dak.
Yeah.
But the quarterback gets the most criticism in a loss. Is it deserved or not? You guys be the judge. Let us know in the comments what you think about that. And but to me, I say that he played well enough to win. What other big things did you notice tonight? Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about specifically with this game tonight? Because this has kind of been par for the Cowboys seasons for the last couple years. This is what happens in big moments. Hey, we got to run the table, and then we trip out of the starting gate of trying to run the table.
Yeah. No, I think the only other thing, and you touched on it very briefly, and I agree with you completely. There was whatever small chance that there was of them firing Eberflus, maybe before the bye week or going into the bye. Um, to me, there would be zero reason to make that change with 3 games left and your playoff chances
Yeah.
essentially none. So I don't expect them to fire Eberflus. But that's the one area, and I've been saying it since I think week 3. Um, I'm not a Matt Eberflus fan. You know, all respect to I'm sure he puts all the time in and everything like that. But at the end of the day, if something looks, sounds, and acts like a duck, it's probably a duck. And at this point, the last few years for him, as far as coaching goes, just has not been great. So my big takeaway is I hope that coming out of this season, because they've got some talent over there, that they go and get a defensive coordinator that's better suited for the kind of talent that they have and hopefully will bring on.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope they make that decision in the off season. I don't know what the relationship with Eberflus and Schottenheimer is. Um, Again, I'm a fan of Schottenheimer. I do not like
Hmm.
Eberflus. Haven't ever really liked Eberflus. If you've been watching the show, you know
Yeah,
that. So hopefully they'll make that decision and get somebody else in here. A lot of people want Al Harris back in here as the defensive coordinator.
I'm one of
Um,
them.
yeah, and let's just see who comes available. Because there's going to be a lot of coaches fired, and some of those coaches are defensive minded.
Yeah.
We'll see who's available. But yeah, I think here's the thing with the Minnesota game. It's par for the course where we are as Cowboys fans. It's unfortunate because we could have made a legitimate run.
Hmm.
I think there was a good chance that the Eagles lose one of those games to the Commanders and the game to the Bills, but they're not losing to the Commanders twice. They're just not.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and the Eagles looked better today because they played the Raiders, but with Kenny Pickett as the quarterback.
Yeah.
So, Cowboys fans, the playoffs are over. It's done. So now we're focusing on, all right, who are we going to keep next year? Let's evaluate the talent, and then let's start our eye on the draft. I've been thinking it's over for a while as far as the playoffs go, but now we really know it's over. And if they do
Hmm.
something crazy, that's just like, you know, getting a nice surprise, a real nice surprise, Clark.
Yep.
From Christmas vacation. So, but right now it's dead. The season's over, and I'm not gonna fake Skip Bayless emotion about it because what I told you a few weeks ago is apathy is there with this team.
Hmm.
I cannot be emotional about this team anymore. They have not earned the right for me to be emotional until they do, and I'll emotionally invest back in this team. That I'm just going to be apathetic. Normally the Cowboys losing would be a big problem for me, but man, I guess it's unfortunate that losing is kind of a habit, especially in big moments. So I don't
Yeah.
expect anything from them, and therefore I can't be moved emotionally from them. Call that what you will. That's just where we are. I have not forsaken them. I haven't abandoned them like the maestro. But I'm going to make them earn the right to move me emotionally and affect my moods because right now they don't. I see signs of life, but until they're fully alive, I'm not going to emotionally invest.
Yeah, I hear you, man, and it's tough out there, but it's also tough around the league. And I think it's, a great segue into kind of some of the other big stories. And I think
Well,
on the negative,
let's talk about that. Let's talk
yeah,
about that. So, what a big day in the NFL. And if you want, we can start with the injuries.
yeah,
Um,
got to,
it's funny because they say Mahomes tore ACL, Chiefs eliminated. Well, they were
hmm
eliminated before he tore his ACL.
yeah,
The game was pretty much over. So
yeah,
it's unfortunate for Mahomes tearing his ACL as they lose the game to the Chargers today. It was the Chargers, right?
Hmm.
yep,
Yeah, and so it was an ugly game offensively
very
for both
ugly.
teams,
hmm
or a beautiful defensive game, however you want to phrase it. But Mahomes going down, tears his ACL. Not sure if I guess he'll be back in time for Week 1 next year, right? The way these
Well,
ACLs are now they're about
yeah,
8 months, aren't they? 9 months?
depend. Yeah, it depends. I saw as I was reading some articles about it, they said the recent history of ACLs, especially in the NFL, is somewhere between 8 and 12 months. So it's a pretty big gap when you think about the NFL
Yeah.
season. That's so best case scenario, yeah, week one. Worst case scenario, the playoffs.
Well, it's 10 months to the start of next year, so
Yeah,
it's right on the timeline. If he misses a game or two, that's not the end of the world, I guess.
yeah.
But big prayers to Patrick Mahomes. Hope he heals properly. But the Chiefs being eliminated, um, it just kind of has this weird feeling to it, right? Because
hmm
they're always in the AFC Championship game. So this will be the first experience without him, right? So,
Yep.
and then later, Micah Parsons
hmm
tears his ACL, feared to have teared his ACL as the Broncos beat the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
And I bet happened. I bet all these Cowboy fans were giddy and gleeful about Micah tearing his ACL, and that's why we got jinxed tonight. That's
Yeah.
probably what happened. There was a little bit
Yeah.
of karma, instant karma. I hope you didn't celebrate Micah's injury because that's not what you should do. Micah looked fast today as he
Yeah.
has all year, but that's
Yeah.
unfortunate for Micah Parsons. He goes down, and so do the Green Bay Packers, who are now reeling a little bit with the Bears winning and the Packers losing.
hmm
Even though the Packers beat the Bears last week, it's this little exchange that keeps happening. And Luke's looking like not Nostradamus because he likes the Broncos and the Rams, and they both are really showing out right now.
Yeah, the
Um,
Rams had a couple little things too. We'll see what happens with Devontae. Sean McVay did say that he was concerned about Devontae's injury. It's definitely a hamstring. To what severity, we don't
yeah,
know. The Rams
and
did
those
get some good.
hamstrings just are tough, man, because they
Yeah,
can stay a problem for weeks and weeks.
Devontae ain't 21 anymore either, right? So not only can it be a problem
He's
for
still him though.
yeah, I
He's still
mean,
him.
he's looked very good, but I imagine that if we see him again, and that first round bye is going to be really big in the NFC. I imagine we won't see him again for the regular season. The Nakua thing, though, they did get good news there.
He
Apparently, he
came
just had
back,
some,
right?
Yeah,
yeah, it was
yeah.
some extreme cramping. It looked really bad, right, when
Yeah.
he tried to get up and then went back down, but that was
Well,
good
we've
for
all had
them.
that problem, right? It's like, oh, we cramp it up. We've all had that thing, man. But yeah, the Rams beat the Lions
hmm
with a great comeback and a great second half
Yep.
from the Rams. Um, Again, it's weird that this Jekyll and Hyde we're talking about with George Pickens, Jahmyr Gibbs was missing for most of that game, and I don't know if it's because the Lions didn't use him or because he wasn't doing what he's supposed to. I don't know. I'm not diving into Lions film, but it's just awkward how he keeps kind of coming and going in that offense.
That's because of the Rams defense. The Rams defense were locked in.
Montgomery did okay today, so
Yeah, but they're not gonna game plan against him because he's not RB1 and he's not as dangerous as Jahmyr Gibbs.
well, but it's happened several weeks this year where Gibbs has sort of disappeared. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, but who were they
I'm not a
playing?
Gibbs defender just because he's on my fantasy team.
No, who were they?
Luke,
Who were they playing?
that sounds like what you're doing right now.
Who were they playing when Jahmyr Gibbs didn't play good? They played Green Bay week 1, who I mean, it's week 1. I mean, they played the Rams and he didn't play good. I don't remember
There's a couple more in there.
else
I'm
they
not
played.
again. I don't study the Detroit Lions, but I'll tell you this: there's been many times I'm like, why are they not using Jahmyr Gibbs? I think we've talked about it on this podcast before.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think the bigger issue there is just his touches, right? Regardless of what the defense is doing, if I've got Jahmyr Gibbs, there's no way he's only touching the ball 17 times in a game. Like, I'd rather have him go 22 to 20, especially in a game of this magnitude. The season's essentially on the line. If he's not touching the ball 22 to 25 times, it's almost dereliction of duty.
well,
Dump the
I
ball
mean,
off to him and go ahead.
it's hard for him to do that. I mean, how many passes did Goff throw today?
41.
I mean, how many offensive plays did they have total?
Let's see. Total play 62.
So if you're throwing 41 times out of 62 plays, and look, and you were leading the whole first half of that game, right? It wasn't until the second half where the Rams made a move, came back, and got a double-digit lead on you. So now you have to throw it. So I get that, but I don't know. It's just something quirky about what's going on with Detroit, and I don't know if it's Dan Campbell calling plays or what may be the case. But the Rams made a comeback, beat the Lions, and Buffalo had an impressive comeback in New England against New
Hmm.
England, down 21 points. And Josh Allen and James Cook go to work.
Yeah, and that defense really stiffened up too. I think that's maybe the bigger. I mean, obviously Josh Allen is always going to get a lion's share of the credit whenever they do great things. And James Cook, man, I know they paid him in the offseason, or coming into the season. It probably wasn't even the offseason. It was basically coming into the season. Um, he's been worth every penny. But to me, after falling, it was 24-7 at halftime. That game, they especially in New England, they could have just packed it in. Um,
Yeah.
that defense holding New England to 7 points in the second half, and Drake, make no mistake, Drake May has looked phenomenal all year long. So to me, when I was watching that game, I just kept thinking, this feels like the Cowboys defense against the Eagles in a really big spot where they were getting torched and gashed early. Something happened at halftime and they come out and oh man,
Yeah.
really fun game to watch. Great division game and I was really impressed with Buffalo's defense in the second half.
Yeah, me too. And that came out of nowhere, like you said. So that made that comeback even sweeter for them. Philly, Jacksonville, the Texans, Chicago, they all roll. And the Texans have looked really impressive. Jacksonville
Mm-hmm.
doesn't get enough credit and enough love. Philly was playing the Raiders. Chicago was playing Cleveland. Shador Sanders is trying to make plays, but taking too many sacks, and that Cleveland team is way even more dysfunctional than the Dallas team, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's way more dysfunctional. But the Texans and the Jaguars look impressive, and maybe people have underrated them. And
Mm-hmm.
then maybe Jacksonville's coach is going to be the coach of the year at this point. With the Vrabel, possibly the other candidate. But Burrow was blanked by Baltimore,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe Joe's really not having fun now. You thought he wasn't having fun before the game. That he looked miserable in that game. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah.
7 degrees. He's Chase had a good game. I mean, he got the
Yeah.
ball to Chase, but I mean, I think if you're Joe and if you're Dak and you feel like you got to be perfect, that's got to be miserable, right? Your defense just can't get enough stops. But Joe definitely not having any fun today.
No, and I think that's, beat a dead horse here, but I think that's where the offensive line needs help. I think Brown's a good running back, but I don't think he's an every down workhorse back. He's not a between the tackles type runner. And I think especially for an offense like what Cincinnati clearly should have, having a downhill runner that can be a little bit more play action beneficial, then that could really open things up for that offense. But yeah, it looked miserable. Really feel for, my brother-in-law is a huge Cincy fan, and after, when Burrow came back, it was just 2 weeks ago, and they played Baltimore and they got the win. It felt like, because of the way that division's going, they might sneak in here and they might make some noise, and really, really bad loss for Cincinnati, and it'll be interesting to see who comes out of the AFC North.
Yeah, it will be. And I think, the Steelers play the Dolphins tomorrow night, right? That's the
Mm-hmm.
game tomorrow night.
Yep.
So if the Steelers get that win, they'll stay ahead of the Ravens. But what a crazy day in the NFL, and capped off tonight by the Cowboys pulling a disappearing act, and not taking care of business. And
Yep.
it's so with all that action, with everything that's happened, who are your teams? Who's your best NFC team? Are you sticking with the Rams? We're all on that bandwagon right now. And then last time on the AFC side, who did you have?
I had the Broncos.
You had you came around to the Broncos.
Yeah.
You drinking Luke's Kool-Aid,
Yeah,
and
I
you
said I
got
still.
Rams and Broncos. So
Yeah, I still.
do you stay with that?
Yeah, I still the Maestro's teams. Look, it's really hard not to stay with that. There is something about, as I think about, like, it's kind of two questions, right? Like, who do I think is the best team in the AFC right now versus who do I think is going to win the Super Bowl? It's very, very difficult for me to see Drake May, Bo Nix, Trevor Lawrence. These are not quarterbacks that have, or Justin Herbert,
They've never done it.
and that doesn't happen. It happens very, very rarely where young quarterbacks go in and make noise. So I'm
C.J.
sitting there,
Stroud,
CJ Stroud. These are all the playoff teams. These are the quarterbacks of the playoff teams.
but there's one
Now
man lurking.
that's right. That's right. And so that's
One
where
man.
it's so hard for me to pick against them. So I'm gonna actually reverse course here, and because we're so close to the playoffs and because we're so close to the tournament and when it matters, I'm gonna say the team that I think will win the Super Bowl, or I'm sorry, will be in the Super Bowl out of the AFC will be Buffalo Bills. I'm gonna go with Josh
Mm,
Allen and the Buffalo Bills.
wow. Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
So
and
a
then
little
let me
bit
give
of
you the
prisoner of the moment.
maybe let me give the NFC before y'all go tear me
Okay,
apart over there.
sure.
Um, for some of the same reason, and I do think the Devonte Adams injury, depending on how long he's out, just because I think it frees up stuff for Nakua. Um, but and the Maestro mentioned it earlier, man, that defense is fun to watch. Just when they get flying around the ball and getting pressure and forcing turnovers. So I'm gonna stick with the Rams. I'm not gonna come off of that. I think McVay and Stafford, obviously they've done it before. They've won a Super Bowl. So I'll stick with the Rams, but I'm gonna switch up in the AFC and go to Buffalo.
Interesting. If you think about what you just said, I mean, if you look at the teams, Aaron Rodgers is Pittsburgh. He's been there and done
Yep.
that, so he's still worth mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
But you have all these quarterbacks that haven't proven themselves. It's Herbert. It's Trevor Lawrence. It's Bo Nix. It's Drake
Drake.
May,
Yep.
right? It's all of those guys, and then you have three guys like you said, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, and Lamar Jackson, still on the peripheral and
Mm-hmm.
and can get in.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't talk about Old Man River. Old Man River's coming out of retirement, looking like Fat Elvis.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a chunky guy, this Philip
Yeah.
Rivers, and it was weird seeing him on the court. I mean, on the field, because all I could think of was Elvis being Fat Elvis, and Rivers likes to talk trash and getting into a little bit, but I'm like, man, I'd leave it alone, Philip, because they're gonna come after your weight right now. And he looked a little pedestrian today, which he should. I mean, but
Yeah.
and they lost on a last-second field goal to the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know what the Colts are going to be. So for me, my team in the AFC, I'm sticking with New England. I'm not going to be a prisoner of the moment. I think the Broncos are right on the tail, and Buffalo would probably be, if I had to choose a third team, would probably be that. I'm not again sold on Jacksonville. Their
Mm-hmm.
offense is hot right now, man. They're scoring a lot of points.
Yep.
But I want to go with the defense when the playoff starts. So Broncos and Patriots are where your head should be, Nick.
Yep.
Right? And you kind of went Buffalo, which has the like the Cowboys defense. So I would question that. I'm going to stay the Patriots in the AFC, and in the NFC, I think I was a little bit concerned, like you were, with the injuries, especially with Nakua, especially with Adams. That's 2 in 1 position. But the Rams, I'm going to stay with right now and keep them there. And I don't Philly beat the Raiders. I don't buy them. I'm not into Chicago. I like Detroit if they can get their act together, right? The Texans, I don't know. And I didn't mention them much, but C.J. Stroud is starting to play well in the AFC. I didn't mention them, but I want to make sure I mention that because I've been really impressed by the Texans, and that defense is unbelievable.
Yep.
So I'll stick with my teams: Patriots, Rams, and we talked about a dark horse coming from the 5th or 6th seed. And I think it has to be the Texans at this point in the AFC. But in the NFC, man, it's still just crazy right now. But I'm gonna stick with those teams. Luke, Maestro, what say you about your best teams in the NFL right now? AFC, NFC.
Well, I'm obviously keeping my teams. AFC is the Broncos, and the NFC is the Rams. Yes, the Rams are banged up, but there's someone that y'all haven't mentioned that is a red zone threat other than Devontae Adams, and that is Kyron Williams.
Yeah.
They just have no holes. Like Devontae's hurt, they still look good on offense, in my opinion.
Well, they went to Parkinson.
Yeah.
In his absence,
And he
Colby
had 2
Parkinson.
touchdowns.
Yeah.
And beat me in fantasy, but that's okay. And I think like specifically with the AFC, because it's been like, oh, it's Mahomes every year, and you know, y'all were talking about the younger quarterbacks. They haven't been there, done that yet. But then y'all said Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. I wouldn't put them in the category that they've been there, done that. I mean, yes, they've been in the playoffs, but
The championship game.
yeah, but I mean, they're still young, but they were young at one point where they had to prove themselves. Like, why
Right.
Bo Nix can't do that? They almost beat the Bills. What was it, last year in the playoffs?
Yeah,
at Buffalo.
they did. That's true.
They played great, and their defense really played great.
And Buffalo almost beat Mahomes too, a couple of times.
Yeah,
doesn't count. It almost doesn't count.
Yeah,
I know, but you had a rookie Bo Nix, and I don't know. I think I'm just not sold on Buffalo. I'm just not like.
Yes, I'm not
Josh
either.
Allen
Their
is
defense is
great.
terrible.
I know. I'm specifically talking to Nick because he picked the Bills, but I think Josh
Shame on
Allen
you,
is
Nick.
great. But I mean, I'm just not sold on that team as a whole. I can't see them like going to the Super Bowl unless it's kind of like the Cowboys. Like it's just the same feeling I get with watching the Bills. It's like they're great, and then you know.
It's exactly like the
the same
Cowboys,
thing.
except the Buffalo actually gets to championship games and wins playoff games, and the Cowboys can't even get there. But what about dark horse? Nick didn't give a dark horse either.
I think last time I picked Pittsburgh, and I think I'm gonna keep Pittsburgh because I don't know. I think that's a solid dark horse team. I think last time y'all picked the Seahawks.
Nick did. He did a
Y'all
2
picked
seed.
a good. Yeah, y'all picked
Nick
a
did a
good.
2
They
seed.
picked a good team, and that does not count as a dark horse team.
I picked the Texans this week.
Texans.
Well,
That's a good one.
Well, look, everyone other than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC have at least 9 wins that are in the playoffs. So it's kind of hard to say that there's like a true dark horse. Other
still
than
5th,
to say,
6th seed.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess if you go that way, San Francisco will be my dark horse just because they might be one of the best 6 seeds in the history of the league. I mean,
that's true.
It's ridiculous that
and we haven't
division,
talked about them much at all.
Right, and that division, the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Niners all have double-digit wins with 3 games to go. Like that division's a buzzsaw, man. What a ridiculous division.
Well,
And
good for them
if
that our division stinks, and
right,
so does the Tampa
the
Bay's
South,
division.
yeah, the South,
Yeah,
yeah. So I would say San Francisco, man. And look, if they can get, and they've done this without really a true number one receiver. They traded Debo. Ayuk's, they just designated him for, he's out for the year now. And yet with Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, George Kittle, they just kind of keep trucking along. And of course, C-Mac is just every
yeah.
bit as dynamic as he's ever been. So I think San Francisco can definitely make some noise coming out of a wild card spot.
Well, that's a good dark horse. Now, um, obviously Pittsburgh's in a dogfight with Baltimore for
Yep.
the division.
Yeah.
The Texans are, kind of taking the lead of that division right now. Well, is it?
No,
Hold on a second.
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Jacksonville's taking the lead,
Yeah.
but Texans have surpassed the Colts, we think,
Yep.
as far as solidifying their position.
Mhm.
And just no one's really loving Jacksonville right now. So yeah, all right. Well, that's our teams. That's our teams. The Maestro has Rams, Broncos with the Steelers as a dark horse.
Mm.
Nick has the Bills
Mhm.
and the
The
Rams in the Super Bowl, with his dark horse being the 49ers.
Yep.
As a team to watch out for. And I have the Patriots and the Rams with the Texans as a dark horse. I love the way that, and if you notice, all my teams have defense, great
Yeah.
defense, and that's what I think it's gonna come down to in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So look, we got the Cowboys blues. Well, some of us do. Most of the Cowboy nations has the blues, but man, we saw this coming. So let's not belabor the point. I don't really want to spend a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to focus our Cowboy stories on the future moving forward. And so we'll start doing that next week. And RIP to the 2025 Cowboys. I guess, as the NBA world, Chuck and them would say, they're gone fishing.
Yeah.
The Cowboys have gone fishing. And unless a miracle happens, which we don't think will. So, Nick, I know you've been waiting a really long time to talk about this Spurs and Thunder game and
Oh
the
man.
return of the alien,
Yep.
Wimby, and what a game that was. Now, you said in the most boring video I've ever seen on TikTok that you thought that the Spurs were going to beat the Thunder. We need to get you some energy when you're doing these videos, okay? Now, you
Man,
don't have to fake it, but you at least got to be awake to do the video.
I was so nervous like that. Like it's for the Spurs game. Like
you thought you were going to jinx them, didn't you?
Yeah, 100%. Like I debated so long. Like I sent the Maestro a text hours before the game, and then he had to message me to say like, "Hey, send the video. I'll just post it." And I was like, I had already told myself I'm not even gonna send it. Like if he doesn't say anything, I told Kyle, I was like, I'm not. I'm gonna jinx it. I'm not doing it. And she was like, No, no, no. You already said you got to. So yeah, man, I was
Nick,
all
you
in my
don't have
head.
that kind of power, brother. You don't
Hey,
have
man,
that power, man.
I'm superstitious. I'm only talking
Well,
about
even
it.
though I just talked about the Cowboy fans probably gleefully happy that Parsons got hurt, probably jinxed us tonight. I get it,
Right.
man. I get it. You don't want to upset the apple cart here. But what an impressive win
Yeah.
that the
Yeah.
Spurs had over the Thunder, which makes our bet all that more ridiculous that we had at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Nobody saw this coming from the Spurs, honestly, as far as their season, the way it started.
Right.
Especially with Wemby being out, it's unbelievable. And I'm not. I really don't want to talk too much about the Spurs, but I'm going to give you your floor to talk about this win over the Thunder.
Yeah, I think the thing that's most exciting, and obviously I got a lot of friends and family back in San Antonio, but the thing that's most exciting is just how quickly this is happening. I think when they got the number 2 pick, and we drafted Dylan Harper, and then we got Carter Bryant later in the draft. Obviously, with De'Aaron Fox and Steph Castle here, it's kind of like, man, it's a lot of redundancy there, right? Steph Castle, De'Aaron Fox, and Dylan Harper, although they have different strengths and weaknesses, those are 3, very similar players. And it was difficult to see how you could utilize them. They have spent, I don't know the exact number, but just I've watched every single game so far. So they've spent very little time on the floor, all 3 of them together. It's probably in the single digits of minutes. But the fact that they can always have one of those 3 out there leading the offense, um, has really, really made a huge difference. And I was watching the interview with Steph Castle, and what he said was, is Popovich throwback is the offense side will take care of itself. We don't care who scores. We're focused on defense. We want to make sure that we get stops. And the way that they were rotating on Shea and man, it was really, really just a lot of fun to watch. And then to take myself out of it for a second, just what a phenomenal and I'll give you credit where it's due. You texted and said just what a game. And just as a basketball fan, man, I think that's what the in-season tournament at its best is. It's a game in the middle of December that should mean nothing, and yet it felt huge. It felt like a big playoff game, and I think there's a lot of hype for the Spurs Knicks Cup final on Tuesday night.
You done? You
How
done?
much does it hurt? How much does it hurt to know that it's just not close anymore? Like the
It's just
future of these,
boring. It's just boring the crap out of me. Honestly, this
the
Spurs talk. I thought you would be hyping up Wemby. I thought you'd be talking about what an unbelievable presence he makes on the court and how he makes everybody better defensively, knowing you can take gambles, knowing this guy's back there to swat things. And I think that was the most impressive thing. But let's be real. The Thunder are the team, right? And you can't question that. And the Spurs beat them, right?
It's one game.
It was
one
by
game.
2 points, right? And so we gave the Spurs their due. What a great game! It was a great game of basketball. But I don't think anyone's beating the Thunder in a 7-game series. Although the awkwardness and impossible matchup that Wemby is, they might be the team to give them the best run for their money. If I had to put my money on that, which is really pains me to say this, but there was one very negative thing that happened in that game for your team. And the lights were a little bit too bright for one guy who had probably his worst game or second worst game of the season, and you could see it on his face when they zoomed in on him. I think he just said, "Make a effing shot." That was thing that I think he said. But your
Yeah.
boy Dylan Harper struggled mightily
Yeah.
against the bright lights and the good team like the Thunder. Now, I almost felt sorry for him, but then I remembered in my head all the times you're hyping him up, talking about how much better he is than Flag and will be better than Flag. And so that was a negative I think that you omitted. You didn't mention the night that Dylan Harper had, who, I mean, could have cost y'all the game. I don't think he saw the floor in the last 5 minutes of the game much, did he?
No, he didn't play, I think, most of the fourth quarter. He played maybe 3 minutes in the fourth quarter. It wasn't much. Only 25 minutes for the game. He had a really, really bad game.
Yeah. And I think they're smart to do that with him so it doesn't compound. Just being honest with you, I think he's been playing about 25, 28 minutes a game, and they've really been smart with how they use him.
Yep.
But I just want to make a note of Cooper Flag's clutch performances, and you still think Dylan Harper's better.
You keep saying that, and I just want to be clear because I'm going to lose credibility. Nobody is saying that Dylan Harper is a better individual talent. What I'm saying is that the type of basketball that Dylan Harper plays is more conducive to a winning team. There are roles, there are ways that people contribute to teams. I think Cooper Flag is a.
Now hold on a second. I got to stop you here. This is again. I don't want to get into this whole debate, but this is what you did with Tony Parker and Luka. This is what you did with the other, this one, Dylan Harper and Cooper Flag. The original thing was you said he's going to be a better player than Cooper Flag. That's what you said. Mm-hmm. Now you're positioning it, well, he's going to have a better career. And what I mean better career, he's going to win more. That's not what we originally were talking about. But here's what I want to say. The Dallas Mavericks are right now in the play-in if the season ended today. And where they were to where they are now, they are making strides getting better. And they keep losing people along the way. We just lost Lively for the season. Mm-hmm. And we just keep overcoming adversity and overcoming adversity. We got a Nimhard out of nowhere that's kind of saved the day for us. And we got the rookie duo. But I just want you to make sure You don't backtrack on this. You did say Dylan Harper was going to be a better player than Cooper Flagg in the very first video that you put out about that.
Yeah, I'll stand by that. I think the individual it's the Ginobili Iverson conversation. I think there's individual talent, and then there's the people I would rather have that are going to help me win at the highest of levels.
You still think Harper's better than Cooper Flagg?
I think Harper will be better than Cooper Flagg, yes.
Okay. So, and the stuff that you've seen so far this year tells you that?
The stuff I've seen so far this year tells me that, yeah, Cooper. But again, it's the same conversation. Cooper Flagg will have
No, who's the
more.
better player, Nick? That's the question.
It depends on what you're measuring that on. Individual success, Cooper Flagg will have tremendously more individual success. He'll win Rookie of the Year.
That's all they're in control of. That's all they're in control of. How they play. All a player can do is control how they play.
You both play basketball a lot.
Yes. Uh-huh.
To say that as an individual in a team sport, I don't have a tremendous impact on winning is an insane statement. That's essentially the argument you're making.
I said I can only control what I do. I can influence others, but I have to look. How much did Iverson have on personnel decisions in Philadelphia?
Probably a lot.
How many coach? Oh, okay.
They don't all have.
I can't have this conversation. You refuse to see the other side of this. That's the problem.
No, I do.
You are blinded by your Spurs stuff. You just can't get past it.
I'm looking for a reason to take Iverson. Winning has to matter.
Over Ginobili or Parker?
Yes.
Dude, you're blinded, man. You're blinded. I bet Duncan would have picked him if you just give him coming out of college. Who are these guys? Iverson had to do it all in college. He's used to it. That doesn't mean he couldn't acquiesce to Duncan. I bet he would have loved to have played with somebody like that. He never had the opportunity to do that.
At that time, I doubt it. At that time, I think if you put Iverson on those Spurs teams, they probably don't win as many championships. I genuinely believe that.
Look, you cannot.
I don't know.
You cannot, with a straight face, say that because you don't know. It's just like you can't diminish the kind of player Charles Barkley was because he never won a championship. Bro, let me just tell you this. We've talked about this in business. Control what you can control, influence what you can influence, and don't worry about the rest. That's what you have to do in these situations. Now, Tim Duncan, he was the anchor. Pop was the architect on the floor, and your GM was a genius.
Beaver.
Just to be honest with you, at putting a team together. So I'm just telling you, you can absolutely say, okay, who's a better player? It's not about stats. It's about the game of basketball. Who is better?
Allen Iverson was a better individual player than Manu Ginobili.
But that's what we're saying. That's what we're saying. And you're saying, no, he's not. No, he's not.
Okay.
Because if Allen Iverson goes on that Spurs team and Ginobili's on the Sixers team, Ginobili doesn't take that Sixers team to the finals.
You don't know that.
He doesn't, Nick. He doesn't.
No one thinks that, Nick.
No
Dude,
chance.
that East was so bad. That was the worst conference in the history of basketball.
We have to end this discussion. I can't take you seriously with that. I just can't. I would much rather, even though still less, want to talk about the Spurs, about Wemby and these new guys, because it was an impressive win over Oklahoma City. It was very cool to see Wemby back and just the freakish thing he brings to the table. I got to give him props. I never thought they would be this good this fast. I have to say that, and I can admit when I misjudged them because I thought they would be fighting for a 6th seed, probably a 5th seed, and they look like they're going to be in a top 4 seed, and they look like they're getting better. So I don't think even the best of Spurs fans thought they would be in a top 3 seed coming into this year.
No.
Yeah,
definitely
and that's what we need to keep our focus on. We don't need to talk about yesteryear, and because I used to beat Luke at basketball too, but that changed quickly. So what I'm saying to you is, these Spurs are for real, and I am a little concerned. The bet is not a thing anymore. I'm probably gonna have to hang that stupid picture up of the team. That's fine. That's fine. But what I do like is the way my Mavericks are coming on, the way that Cooper Flagg and Ryan Nembhard are gelling together as the rookie duo. AD is playing great. If he can just stay healthy. And I like what I'm seeing from these Mavericks, where before people had buried them. Now maybe they're giving us false hope. I don't know. But right now they're in the play-in. And that's
Yeah.
all. I mean, they've been left for dead. Luka trade. Mavericks fans walked away from this franchise. That's not fair to Cooper Flagg. That's not fair to these guys who they didn't do that. Nico's gone. And everyone forget that. It's over. Luka's not coming back. Okay? So let's move on. Let's give these guys a chance. And I think that they're taking that chance and playing some good basketball right now. And they're 10 and 16
Yep.
and in the playoff.
Yep.
But not even sniffing the Spurs yet. So kudos to the Spurs for a great win over Oklahoma City. I still think OKC is far and away going to win the championship, although it could be like Golden State when they went 73-9. They don't win the championship, but I think that we all know how and what happened there with the Draymond Green suspension.
Yeah.
So let's put a cap on that. I don't how much time have we been talking here?
86 minutes.
Wow. I guess what we need to round out the night with Knicks picks. We need to get to some Knicks picks. Do you have them?
Yeah.
This early?
Yeah, I got
Okay.
them. We're ready to go.
And we will hit it straight into Knicks picks, Maestro. Let's go, Nick. How did you do this week?
3-1 this week. Another really, really solid week, man. But I will say, the one pick I missed really bad. Normally I try to divert away from the bad one. This one was so bad, we got to just go straight into it. My upset pick of the week was Cincinnati to beat Baltimore.
Ooh.
So I missed on that one.
Maybe you hate Joe Burrow now.
No, I picked them to win.
I know, but maybe you should hate him now.
Coming out of it. Yeah, definitely. Joe Cool, no more. That was a really, really bad loss. But the other ones were all really, really clean. We had Detroit. Well, I say really clean. I think the Detroit Green Bay, it seemed a lot closer than I think it ended up being. I think toward the last half of the fourth quarter kind of got away from Green Bay a little bit. I think the Micah injury kind of just took the air out of the sails. But I had Denver. I had Denver covering there. We had the Lions and the Rams going on the over. That one had that by like halfway through the third quarter or something. That wasn't even close. And then Jacksonville. I had Jacksonville to cover their 3.5 points against the Jets, or whatever ridiculous number they got against the Jets were. You said it earlier, and I didn't want to preview into the segment, but when you say Jacksonville's not getting any love, man, you could not be more right. Like, that team is criminally underrated and are getting all kinds of disrespected, and just enough, I think, that it keeps fueling them. So with that, let me give you these, and we're going to start right there. Jacksonville against Denver. It's in Denver, so this is going to be a big game, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. Maybe the game of the week for me. Denver at home is a 3-point favorite, so basically a pick them. So Jacksonville's starting to get a little bit of love here. Right. But having said that, I'm going to take Jacksonville +3.
Wow.
I just, I think the more that they continue to be disrespected and disregarded, and especially the way that they're winning, the offense is just humming. I think I'm not so sure that they don't just win this game, but I can definitely see it being a close one. So we'll take the point since we have them. Jacksonville +3. Tampa Bay and Carolina.
Has all this Spurs talk clouded your mind? Are you sure about this one? Because this one, I don't know. I know that the Broncos are on a pretty big winning streak right now, and maybe this, if they did lose this game, it might do more for them than winning the game. Mm-hmm. But they're trying to get that number 1 seed. Denver is. So I think that this game will be huge. But I don't know, man. I think Denver's going to win it. So that's my thoughts on that. Jacksonville, I'm kind of with the bookies. I don't buy into Trevor Lawrence. And that coach is a little still too weird. I'm still remembering his press conference in the back of my head.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just weird. So
Yeah,
for that
and just to
reason
be clear,
alone,
just
yeah,
the points. I'm saying they could win, but I am taking the points. I'm not picking them to win outright.
okay,
So it's +3.
I got,
So Denver would have to win by
I
3 for
got you,
your bet
I got you.
for yeah. So and then another big division game is Tampa Bay and Carolina in Carolina. Um, I think Carolina's kind of fooled some people because Carolina is only a 2.5 point dog here. Um, I think Tampa Bay continue, as they continue to get just a little bit healthier. Um, this will probably be the first game where I think those three receivers are as close to fully healthy as they've been all year. I think this is a perfect game where Tampa comes in and just blows them out. Maybe I'm wanting to believe in Baker a little bit more, but I'm just seeing something there, especially with Carolina more so. So I got Tampa Bay -2.5. We've got the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears, another huge division game in Chicago. Green Bay -1.5. So I'm taking Green Bay and the points -1.5. This feels like the kind of game where because they lost Micah, it's an easy game for them to kind of be let down. And I think for all those reasons, they come out swinging really, really hard. Caleb Williams, a few early turnovers, and he still worries me from time to time. And then the last one, I didn't realize I did this. This is another huge division game. The Los Angeles Rams going to Seattle. Um, the over/under is 44 right now. I don't I don't know how that happened, but I will take the over on 44. The Rams and Seahawks. I mean, I know the Seahawks defense is good, maybe even really, really good, but
Mm-hmm.
this
Yeah.
is this is this is going to be unless weather gets involved, I see this being like a 27-24, 30-27 type game. So I'll take the over Rams Seahawks. So just quick summary: Rams Seahawks over 44, Green Bay Packers -1.5 at Chicago, Tampa Bay -2.5 at Carolina, and Jacksonville +3 at Denver.
I predict a 2-2 in your future.
Well,
That's just how I see it.
I'm 25-11 on the year, so 2-2 isn't the worst thing in the world. Um, you
No,
know,
you've been killing it, man, in your moral bank.
yeah, the moral bank
For
is really,
entertainment purposes only. Yeah.
yeah. The entertainment, it's like a Monsters Inc. type thing where we got the canisters got to get full up. My moral victories have really been going really, really well this season. Actually,
Nick, can you
and
share some of your morals with me?
No, we're not. You just need a loan, Nick.
Yeah,
A moral loan.
yeah. I will say this too, and I hate to admit this, but I try really hard to just not ever look at Cowboys games because as much as I try to be
Yeah.
impartial, I feel like I can't. Um, I looked at the game right before it started, like 15 minutes before kickoff, and it was like Minnesota +5.5, which seemed insane. Like I thought Dallas would still win the game, but with the way Minnesota's defense looked last week, that seemed criminal. So I made a really big moral bet on Minnesota +5.5. So that worked out pretty well for me tonight too.
Well, okay, now we know why he's not so sad about it. All right. Well, that wraps up Nick's picks. Good luck this week, and man, you are having a great year on Nick's
Yep.
picks. All right. I want to apologize for all the Spurs talk we had on this show today, especially coming off the Cowboys, losing to the Vikings. This is normally where we would have what's killing Jeff, but there's only two things that's killing me, and I'll say them real quick. One, it's Nick talking about old Spurs and how great they are. That's killing me, and you could clearly see how that was bothering me during this podcast. I love the old Mavericks, but I don't let them cloud my judgment on who's good and who's not. But anyway,
Because they all
that's
suck.
killing me. But really, here's really what's killing me, Nick. It's the schedule makers with the Cowboys.
Oh,
Look, I think this could be part of the Cowboys' problem. You got Sunday night games, you got Thursday night games, you got Monday night games, you got so many different types of schedules that I
Thanksgiving,
think it's just
Christmas.
throws the team off. Honestly, I'm looking for anything to help the Cowboys, but usually the Cowboys have to finish out on the road, and again this year, they've got their last 2 games on the road. It would be nice if the schedule makers, did us some favors, but it doesn't appear that that's ever going to be in the cards. So it would just once I would like them to take, and then the league will never do this because as much as the Cowboys are struggling last year and this year, they're still the cash cow for the league. They're still the team that generates the most buzz and revenue, whether you love them or hate them. You still talk about them. I think that doesn't do us any favors when it comes to the schedule. So when we're on Monday nights and we're on Sunday nights and we're on Thursday nights and we're on, Thanksgiving and Christmas, there's no real rhythm you can get into as Cowboys, and especially as fans, and especially as people that do podcasts. It's like, Lord have mercy, if we're going to do post game shows, it's going to be really late in the evening, and we're committed. That's why we're here. But I think that somebody needs to take a look at this. And I really feel like for the last several years, I felt like the schedule makers have it out for the Cowboys. I don't know if that's just me and my bias, kind of like Nick and his Spurs bias, but I feel like maybe if we look into this a little bit, you'll see that the schedule makers don't do us any favor. And I'm not talking about who we play. I'm talking about when we play them and the way that our home and road games go and the way that the primetime schedule goes. Because I know it's very locked in about who we play. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm just talking about the way this schedule works. And I don't want to sound like a whiny Cowboy fan making excuses. It just bothers me as a fan that the way it happens. So that's what's killing Jeff. What say you on that, guys?
I agree, actually. But I will say, I think it's schedule makers / the league just saying, hey, we need this team to be in prime time like half their season. And I mean, I get it. To your point, it's the cash cow. The ratings on, they never do less than like 25 million viewers. They'll spike up to 50 million. I get it, right? Advertising dollars and blah, 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 blah. But I agree with you. It's annoying as a fan that even without, the after post game stuff, which I know a lot of people love to watch, like even as a fan, like I want to go listen to what, all the different pundits have to say after a game. I'm usually up until 11:30, 12 o'clock anyway, watching all that stuff because all these games are at night or, just at weird times. Like I said earlier, we got Christmas and Thanksgiving this year. If they can put them on New Year's, I'm sure they would. So no, I agree with you, man. It's ridiculous.
Well, and when the Cowboys play late games like this, I can't go to bed till like 2 or 3 in the morning. I'm so
Yeah, because
amped
you're all
up and
wired
going.
up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So it doesn't. Yeah, it's literally killing me. I think because I'm not getting enough sleep. So
Yeah.
What say you, Luke?
I think whenever they have the night games or the primetime games, I'm gonna have to take a nap, so I have enough energy to stay up and watch all the stuff because I'm like
Yeah.
half asleep during either filming or editing or whatever.
Yeah.
And so if I misspell something, that's probably why.
Yeah, it's just what happens, right? It's part of being a Cowboys fans and being Cowboy fans. It's America's team. Whether you want to think they're not, they still are.
Yeah.
Because everybody loves to hate them or loves to love them.
Yeah.
And or you can be like me, a little bit apathetic to them right now. Luke jumped off the bandwagon. Nick maybe was on the playoff bandwagon too long.
It's not even a bandwagon. It's not even a bandwagon, though.
What's your whole life you've been a Cowboy fan, and all of a sudden you're just not going to be one? I don't know how to do that.
Now that I have matured, I just like my certain players that I follow, and I like those players because it doesn't matter if the Cowboys have the best offense, they're still going to lose. It doesn't matter if they have the best defense, which
they never really
they've
have.
never had.
They never have, yeah.
They're still going to
So wait
lose.
a minute. Do you have a diehard team?
I don't know.
I'm just curious because you're mentioning players, and I get that. I really do. But like, do you have the diehard team that like you feel the wins and losses of?
For
any sport,
NFL?
anything.
Oh, like the Mavericks, I'm a fan. I'm a team fan of the Mavericks.
These millennials, they're all over the place.
It was hard growing up though because I was a D Wade fan. I wanted to be Dwayne Wade, but realized I was white and I'm not fast enough
Yeah.
to be
Wait, you're
Dwayne
white?
Wade.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I realized that.
Wait a minute. You're a millennial? You're not a millennial, Luke. You're Gen Z, right?
He's
I don't
on the
know.
border. He's
I-
26, so he's
No, he's Gen
he's
I'm an
on
old
the-
soul though. I'm an old soul.
Yeah.
he's an old soul,
I'll
but,
agree
but with
I'll agree
millennial
that.
tendencies.
But
He's an old soul with millennial tendencies. That's what
Yeah.
he is because they can't commit to anything. I mean, it's
yeah,
like it's
man.
the Cowboys broke his heart too much. I mean, his whole life they haven't won. I mean,
Yeah.
I get that.
It's hard to blame
But look,
him. Yeah,
I
I'm
grew up
not-
in the
yeah.
80s. I grew up in the 80s, and the Cowboys didn't win either. So
Yeah, I get it. I was just
I mean,
curious.
after the Dez catch year, I mean, through those years, I was a big Cowboys fan. The Dez catch year was so unfortunate, but I'm probably the only Cowboys fan that was also a Green Bay Packers fan.
oh gosh,
I love Aaron Rodgers. I love Devontae Adams, and that's why I still like. I was cheering for the Jets when they went to the Jets. The Raiders, I was always watching their games because I wanted to see Devontae Adams. So I just follow those guys, and I know they're getting older, so I need to start finding some new younger guys to follow.
Yeah.
he eats Taco Bell because
Taco
of Devontae
Bell.
Adams, only because of Devontae Adams.
Love those commercials. Taco Bell.
All right, if we could get back to what's killing Jeff,
Yeah.
before we talk about the Devontae Adams stuff, listen, I think that maybe we need to look at this. And, I've always said that teams gear up to play the Cowboys because they hate them so much.
Yep.
And we always get the other team's best effort. But
Mhm.
quite frankly, the Cowboys just haven't been as good as they need to be. And we saw that again tonight. So what's killing Jeff is Nick's ridiculous Spurs bias. Put that down, Maestro. And the schedule makers with the Cowboys with all these primetime, nighttime games. And I'm sure all the other fans of all the other teams would love the Cowboys not to be on primetime. And I think maybe if they took us off for a couple years, that would help us.
No,
Help
for
us
sure.
not be on those primetime games. But what would really help us is having better defensive players and a better defensive coordinator. That's what would really help us. All right, look, there's so many things I wanted to talk about on this show. But if you guys don't know, we also do a wrestling show now weekly, and we're going to talk about John Cena's final match. We're going to talk about all the things that are going on in the WWE. We record that on Tuesdays and post it late Tuesdays, Wednesday morning ish. So tune into that if you're a fan of that. There's a lot of things going on in the world of sports that we don't ever get to because the Cowboys take up so much of our time, and we love that because Cowboys, they have so many great things to talk about and so many bad things to talk about. So they're a lightning rod. But we want to get into some more sports stuff. We didn't have time to get into that, and we always seem to go like an hour and 45 minutes now. We're really going to have to be better disciplined and not let Nick talk Spurs. So I guess we're just going to have to outlaw Spurs talk, Maestro. What do you think?
I mean, I had asked him about the Iverson stuff because I didn't know. I think y'all had like
I was trying to move on like 8
y'all had-
times. You guys keep me there.
Y'all had an 80 I had 80 message notifications, and y'all were talking about Iverson, and I'm like, I'm not reading all this. So when we brought it up,
Again, that's a millennial. He
I
doesn't
didn't
want to
know.
read all that.
bro, I was at church praising Jesus.
Look, like I said, we're going to get better controls on this show so that we don't go off script here too much. But we thank you for joining us on this show. Thank you for liking and subscribing and sharing the videos. Please interact with us. Check out the WWE show. And thank you for being a part of this show. Until next time, peace.